home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Five o'clock hour, the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig got you the rest of the way here on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Man, some of you guys are really mad at Mike Gill over his Kelly Green uniform take. My goodness. Before we get to Ryan Rothstein joining us here for the 5 o'clock hour, I got to read this text. Because I saw it earlier, and I was like, holy Toledo, Batman. I mean, this guy went all in. So, for those who didn't hear the full segment, and let me get Ryan here, because, Ryan, I got to pull up the text. But, Ryan Rothstein at Wise Ryan on Twitter platform joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. So, Mike Gill basically is like apparently the greatest hater of the Kelly Green uniform of all time. Does it surprise you that Mike Gill has such vitriol for Kelly Greens, Ryan?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It seems like a Mike Gill thing, a Mike Gill hill to die on. I mean, I don't know. Like, you're describing his hate like it's really intense. I mean, it's just a uniform. What's his take? Like, sum up his overall thought on it.
So, he said they're stupid.
They're stupid? What is that? What? The color or what? The overall love for it?
Well, basically, his position has been they represent a time of losing. That's his position. Now, AJ from Cape May Courthouse says, Mike, you just insulted me and 30,000 season ticket holders calling the Kelly Green stupid. I was at those games, and that era turned me into a real Eagles fan. AJ and Cape May Courthouse / second generation season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is how I look at it. One, Philly sports fans are just, they're not idiots, right? So it's like, it's not even, of course it's about nostalgia, but it's more about we recognize how cool they are. I mean, like, forget about, of course, ideally you want to bring back a uniform that represents a time of winning. That would be ideal. But I think we can all subjectively, for the most part, I would say majority of Eagles fans, if you line up all of the history of the uniforms, that the Kelly Greens are the coolest, regardless of how they were in that era. Just the color scheme and the logo, that's the coolest Eagles uniform. Yeah,
someone else texted in, how about Randall Cunningham, Jerome Brown, Reggie White? You can't ignore all of those guys who are Kelly Green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how much winning, compared to the winning that's taking place right now, it's not even really comparable, right? But I don't know. Okay, so what? I mean, can Gill at least acknowledge that they're cool looking, right? I mean, if we can all get on that page, that's really the bottom line, isn't it?
I would assume so. I mean, he's not here to speak for himself. I just thought it was funny that it was like, I have people texting in, basically, and he's not here to respond to them, so maybe he will tomorrow. I got Anthony from Avalon saying I was the Eagles season ticket holder from 71 until 85, and I can tell you nothing could break the curse of those uniforms until this current team.
Yeah, I mean, they've been wearing it for, 2 seasons now?
They're undefeated.
Right, yeah, okay, there you go. So, I mean, we can completely rewrite the Kelly Green history, baby. Let's rewrite that book.
Well, what's being rewritten right now, Rye, because I feel like it's like the perfect Rye or Cy topic, is the team the NFL has announced. The Eagles are opening the regular season not against the Rams, who played them a very close game in the postseason, not against Washington, up-and-coming team, not against the Detroit Lions, the most injured team in football last year, right? Not against the Bears, an up-and-coming team in the NFL. No. They're doing it against, Ryan, the only team that has not reached an NFC championship game in the NFC since 1997, the Dallas Cowboys.
I love it. I love it. It's perfect because you know how I see this placement of this game? It's the world desperately outside of Philly and the Delaware Valley, the
Right.
world desperately wanting the Cowboys to win this game. This is against the champs. This is against Philly, who's been the top dog in the NFC East. And there's a lot of hype. Listen, there's always a lot of hype going into each year, right? With the Dallas Cowboys, they can have me and you at wide receiver, and there's going to be a ton of overblown hype surrounding that Dallas Cowboys team. But we know what that roster looks like, that offense looks like right now, and as always, there's a lot of hype. So I would love nothing more than the Eagles to just bury them into the ground to send that team packing to start that year. I would love it.
By the way, the last team, Ryan, to play in the kickoff game on Thursday night against the Super Bowl champion, the team that did not make the postseason the year before, Ryan, was also the Dallas Cowboys in 2021 against the Buccaneers. By the way, last time the Eagles played the Cowboys, 2000, they beat them 41-14. The infamous pickle juice game where Deuce Staley ran for over 200 yards. Also, the last time the Eagles hosted, Ryan, a home opening season week at home. They haven't been at home since 2019 to start the season. And it was also against a division rival, the then Washington Redskins, and they beat them as well. So maybe this is a good omen that for opening night, Philly's going to win the game. You might as well bet it now.
Sure, why not? I also love getting a Thursday night game. Like, they're going to have a Thursday night game, the Eagles. Why not get it out of the way to start the year? Like, I just, for
That's
me,
an interesting one.
Right, like get it out of the way because you know how that can fall sometimes where it's off a short week and week 8, you play on Sunday, then you can have a quick turnaround. It's like, all right, we're getting a Thursday night game where it's the first game. So you're not coming off a short week. And us, selfishly, I enjoy Thursday night games only really for the reason of having the rest of the week free to just watch the NFL.
I like
right?
that.
Like
That's a cool way of
Sunday.
thinking. Yeah.
So,
listen, you guys like you and me love watch football anyway, so it's kind of like,
Sure.
So like it's almost like with the basketball. Like I took a different perspective with Gil. Gil's like, Sixers aren't in the NBA postseason. I'm less interested. I'm like, I'm kind of more interested because I don't have to watch the Sixers. Like I can watch the other teams and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean that just to me, I'm disappointed in Gil because that's just a statement from a guy that's not as big of a basketball fan as he says he is. I mean, like for me, I love the NBA playoffs. I prefer the Sixers to be in them. I'm more locked in, but these NBA playoffs, dude, I am fully in. I mean, they have been awesome. Anyone who's been listening to my segments here in the 5 p.m. hour, I've been very open about just how great this basketball has been. It's been awesome.
Well, we'll get to that as well.
Yeah.
Ryan Rothstein joining me here. Josh Hennig filling in for the aforementioned Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. We got to stop talking about Gill. He's not actually here right now. Let him defend himself tomorrow.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the Eagles and the Cowboys thing because the thing I am curious, Ryan. I'm a little conspiratorial because I'm like, did the NFL owe Jerry Jones a favor? Like, are they trying to maybe head off the eye? Because, for example, I believe George Pickens is going to doom their season. I feel like they're going to start out well, and then by the end of the year, he's going to tank the entire team to HE double hockey sticks. So is the NFL being like, hey, let's get the Cowboys on TV at the beginning of the year before it all goes downhill because of George Pickens?
Yeah, well, I want to get to Pickens in a second, but listen, Eagles-Cowboys is always a lot of hype. I'm fine with it. Like, yeah, Eagles-Rams, certainly it would be an excellent matchup, right? The Rams, as you mentioned, almost took us out. But I think nationally and locally, it's a great Thursday night opening kickoff type of game. The Cowboys are always going to get slotted in more national games than they deserve to be in. They're always going to get talked about, and they're always going to get put in those prime spots, whether we like it or not. So, yeah, we have an opportunity to embarrass them week 1. Now, my Pickens thing. I want your thought on my take here with this. And it's been a popular take. You've heard this from other people, talking heads, I'm sure. But why was Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers so willing and so quick to trade him for a bag of peanuts?
Right.
For me, and you've heard this, like I said, but there has to be something going on where Mike Tomlin's like, I'm sick of this dude. Do not like his locker room presence. as we're making this transition here in a lot of ways, Pittsburgh, I'm speaking of, let's just transition away from the George Pickens era in Pittsburgh. So, I think Dallas is just one of those teams like, screw it. We don't care. We're not going to look into that. Let's just hope we get a good version of him.
Yeah, good luck with that. I mean,
right.
look at every other Steelers receiver that left. What happened to him? Remember Antonio Brown? Remember Mike Wallace? Remember Santonio Holmes? I mean, I'm sure there's more than the ones they just named because I can't remember everybody. But it's like, at some point, it's like, Chase Claypool, he disappeared off the face of the earth. Deontay Johnson's been on 5 teams, it seems like, since the Steelers got rid of him. It's like, if you're a wide receiver and you leave Pittsburgh, that should be like a red flag, shouldn't it? Like, why would you ever think that George Pickens going to the Cowboys is going to change anything?
Right. No, I agree. And I'm sure they saw like some writing on the wall, with bringing in DK Metcalf. If you're the Steelers and you're like, we don't even want that drama. Because no, seriously, it's funny, but Pickens is most likely going to leap up.
Yeah.
Like, I want the ball more. I'm not getting enough targets. I'm open, and it's like, listen, we'll take our chances with DK Metcalf. Whoever's ended up throwing him the rock, we don't even care. But I don't know. I guess let me ask you this: do you think? And I think I know your answer. But does it move the needle at all for Dallas Pickens? I mean, there is some potential there.
Oh, it moves the needle because, like you just said, it's the potential. It's the possibilities. This is their best wide receiver duo in a few years. Well, would the last one be Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb? And, before that, you got to go back to, I don't even know when. I mean, they probably think this is the answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the Eagles, what are some of their bigger questions heading into this season? On the defensive side, right? You lose a guy like Slay. You have key members entering year 2 that you don't, we assume they're going to be stars for a long time, knock on wood, and Coop and Quinyanamo Bay. But, sophomore slump is not unrealistic, so it's like there's some question marks with the Eagles on the defensive side, particularly in the secondary. And maybe the Cowboys are saying to themselves, let's try and exploit that as we play them twice a year.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, you got to play the Cowboys one more time next year after week 1. So Will the Cowboys even be the same Cowboys by the time you see them later in the year, right? That's always going to be the fascinating conversation as well. Ryan Rothstein here joining me, Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, with all that being said, I do think it's interesting how the NFL, I got to get your take on this, how they're slow leaking the schedule. It's like, well, we got the opening night this morning. At some point today, Fox and Amazon Prime are going to announce their games. Tomorrow, CBS Morning is going to announce their. Like, just give us a schedule already. That's kind of my take. It's like this whole, slope leaking it out. It just feels like the NFL is, put a carrot in front of us, and they're making us chase after our food.
Yeah, why do they do that? I'm being funny, but I'm being serious. Why do they do that? Why are they doing it this way? They do it every year. It's stupid. It's like, it's the off season. We're going to talk about it. Just let us talk about it at once.
Right.
I don't understand. I'm guessing, as you sort of mentioned, like some of the TV and the streaming, I guess that's something to do with that. There's just so many different platforms, but still.
Oh, by the way, I got a little news for you, Ryan.
What do you got?
Just dropped. So it's more Eagles-related news, by the way. So Fox hasn't made their announcement today, which I don't know what channel they would have done it on because Fox has no programming on right now. So it must have been on FS1. But according to Adam Schefter, Fox will air a Week 16 doubleheader involving the Philadelphia Eagles. Saturday, December 20th, Eagles at Commanders will be the first of the doubleheader that day on Fox. Your initial reaction, Ryan Rothstein?
I'm guessing that's 4:25 kickoff. I assume Saturday, probably a 4:25, and then like an 8:15, right? That's what I'm guessing.
Doesn't say what the times are. It just says it's going to be a exclusive Fox NFL doubleheader on Saturday, December 20th.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not like it? But there's also a part of me that wants to say, like, listen, NFL is king. we absolutely love football in this country. Not forget just in Philly, right? Everywhere. So it's like you can never go wrong. But is the NFL taking over too many days? I know they wait for the Saturdays later in the year, the week 16, 17, and 18s of the world. But still, it's like, okay, now you're having Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, Monday. It's nuts, dude. Is it a little too much?
It's a little too much, but, we're not.
But we want it.
We want it, right.
Yeah.
It's not like it's, there's no other sport out there that can get away with this.
No, the NFL can do whatever they want.
Right.
The NFL can say we're moving from Sunday to Tuesday, and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, because you know what? Every establishment that we frequent will put out new specials just for that night. NFL on through Tuesday, come out. We got half-price appetizers. Yeah. Everyone's going to accommodate.
Absolutely. And, eventually there's only going to, what's coming, which is another regular season game, one less preseason game.
Right.
We all know that's on deck in the very near future, which is just laughable because, once again, the NFL, air quotes, we want to protect the players' safety. That's why we're looking into the tush push. Give me a bleeping break, bro. Give me a bleeping break. As you're making teams play on Thursday, then a short week, you're making teams not being allowed to practice, which only risk injury for players. Oh, the tush push. No player has ever been hurt in the tush push ever.
Right.
Yet you're going to say safety for that, and you up the games basically every 2 years. We're going to be at 18 and soon, and probably 19 shortly after that. It's a joke.
Yeah. By the way, I think the 18 is going to come when the current TV contracts are done. I feel like was like 2029. I think it is. I think that's when we're going to get the 18th game, because what they're going to do is they're going to build in that extra bye week for every team. So now every team gets 2 bye weeks. So now we're going to extend the schedule because they want that Super Bowl, Ryan, to land on President's Day weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Right. Makes sense. I mean, they can do that whenever they want, but they might as well just have that transition where, like, as you said, when the TV contracts shift, that's probably a more seamless type of move.
Now, this other Eagles news, again, the news is coming out Saturday, December 20th. Eagles will lead off the Fox NFL doubleheader, Eagles in Washington. Ryan, do you remember what also this could mean? I want to see if you remember this or not.
No, I don't know. Too broad of a question. I'm a little bit too stupid.
Okay.
What is it?
So last year, when the teams that played on the Saturday before Christmas were also the teams that played on Christmas.
The teams that played on the Saturday before Christmas also played on Christmas Day?
Yes, the exact 4 teams last year. So this means that the Eagles are probably going to be playing, I think, the Bears or the Packers on Christmas Day. So you will have the Eagles, it looks like, will be on Christmas Day. By the way, Netflix is apparently announcing their Christmas Day games on Wednesday morning, so you can tune.
Wait, okay. What date is that Saturday on where the Eagles play Washington?
The 20th.
20th?
Yes.
And they're going to have a quick 5-day turnaround on Christmas Day, you think?
That's what they did last year. Last year.
Was it that quick?
When they had the teams play on the Saturday before Christmas, it was the Chiefs and Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers? I forget the other team off the top of my head. I gotta look it up, but they did that on purpose because they wanted to make sure they had more time. So they had to play Sunday to Wednesday.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. I'm fine with the Eagles on Christmas Day. I don't know how you feel. I don't love it, but I'm not against it, I guess.
I'm okay with it as long as I don't have Sixers playing the same day, because then I'm just going to lose my mind.
Yeah, well, I think we have to just, for any basketball fans, you just have to admit defeat. Like, the NFL has infiltrated and taken over Christmas. Like, they're
you have to admit
they're the Grinch. They have.
Dude, that was perfect. You just gotta let go.
Just let it go, man. Let it go. It stinks. But what did we just say like 5-10 minutes ago, dude? That we all want as much football as possible on as many days as possible. So the NFL just basically gave the NBA a quick push on their shoulders and said, step aside.
By the way, so what happened was last year, I just pulled it up. So the Chiefs played the Texans Then the Steelers played the Ravens the Saturday before Christmas. And then on Christmas itself, which, of course, the way these things work, I got to go to the next tab because, technology. And then on Christmas Day, it was Chiefs and Steelers and Ravens and Texans. So they just inverted the teams.
Yeah,
so if we go by the pattern from last year, that means that after Eagles play Washington on Saturday the 20th, the Eagles could be playing on December 25th versus either the Packers or the Bears.
Nice. I would assume the Packers, but who knows? Could certainly be the Bears.
I mean, there's so many storylines with either team, so you could have tons of fun with it. I mean, it could be Packers and Eagles because they played in the postseason last year.
Right.
It could be Bears and Eagles. If the Bears are having a good year, maybe the Bears are playing for a playoff spot, and the Eagles are still trying to lock up a top seed.
Give me the Packers, dude. The Packers have quickly become, and there's always been like a rivalry with two great franchises, two great fan bases, historic franchises in Green Bay and Philadelphia, right? But now you add in, I don't know why I'm bringing up the tush push a lot, but Green Bay, they're the team that's trying to ban it, which just adds another layer to this rivalry. And there's, played each other in the playoffs in recent years, two young quarterbacks. There's a lot of storylines between Green Bay and Philly.
Now, my only question is, Christmas Day this year lands on a Thursday. And my only question is, would that count against the Thursday formula or not? Because you know how that formula works. That you're only supposed to get about one or two Thursday games a year. Mm-hmm. So if the Eagles, who already got to play another Thursday after kickoff, remember the kickoff game doesn't count toward the Thursday formula, but it counts toward the primetime formula. So, are we taking a Netflix game and say it doesn't count against the Thursday or the other formulas? I'm totally lost on this. We used to be able to figure this stuff out ahead of time.
Yeah, I feel like you just threw me into an algebra class in high school. I have no clue. My head hurts. I'm not sure.
All right, well, let's get out of algebra because I hated math in high school. All right, before we hit the break, and we'll wrap up the Eagles thing on this. Ryan Rothstein, I want your biggest concern about the Birds as of May 12th about next season.
Okay. Is that a tease, or I can give you the answer now?
We're going to do it now? Choose. You want door number one or door number two?
Let's do it now, because listen, man, we got a lot of NBA stuff.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Screw it. We got to transition into some lottery talk, bro. I got plenty of hot takes to fire away at the people.
And we got to get to the Phillies as well.
And Phillies, of course, yes. My biggest concern for the Eagles heading into the year, as it stands today, is another new offensive coordinator, another new OC. Who dis? It's crazy. It's crazy. And yes, they had a new OC last year after struggling the year prior with the new OC. So you can say, it don't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. The one good thing is, Petula's been here. He's been in the system. He's been with Sirianni. He knows the players. He knows Jalen. All well and good. He's never been a play caller in the NFL. He's zero play calling experience. Now he's the play caller for the Super Bowl defending champions. It's different. He could have been here for 20 years. If you're a first-time play caller for the defending champions, it's different. There's going to be growing pains. That's the reality in life. In any new role that you take on, it's not a flawless, seamless transition. If you're new at some of those job duties, you're going to struggle. There's going to be growing pains. Now, how much? Can we minimize those? Is it going to matter? Can the talent deflate that? I hope so. We assume so. But this is another new offensive coordinator. Is Nick Sirianni going to have to pay more attention? How does that impact the team? All those questions are valid, and I think they will rear their ugly head a little bit throughout the season.
If Sirianni gets involved at all in the offense, that means he, one, did not learn his lesson from 2023, and number two, he needs the intervention because he obviously is a control freak.
Yeah, no, I disagree with that, and I'm here for all and any Sirianni slander, right? But I say that a little tongue in cheek, but he's the head coach. If his guy is new in that role and he's struggling a little bit, isn't that Nick Sirianni's job to say, all right, bud, let me put my arm around you and let's I'll give you 10% more than I typically would because you're new.
Or maybe they should just hire a coordinator who knows what he's doing.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know, though, dude, because you say, all right, hopefully this guy will be here now for a little while. We've had way too much turnover in this role, and that's part of being this successful. But you say, all right, this guy's new. Let's try and get him for 3 to 5 years in this role. I think that has to be the thinking, right?
No, and I totally hear you on that. I just feel like, and I'll say this before we hit the break, that for me at least, I look at the Eagles as an organization that their most success when Sirianni was not involved in the offense. Yeah. When he handed the play calling to Steichen and when he handed the play calling to Kellen Moore, this team went to Super Bowls. When he didn't, they didn't get there. They lost more games. So it's like at some point, it's like you would hope that, if it's not broken, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel?
I agree. And I know we have to break, but I do just want to add a quick thought, which is like, it's crazy that we actually say, dead serious, both of us are on the same page, paraphrasing how we say it, the Eagles are at their best when Nick Sirianni does less. I don't know.
Well, it's not do less, but it said he's the CEO of the football team.
Okay, I get it.
When he's being the coach of the team and not just the guy who's sitting in the offensive play room. Like for example, I don't know if you did you read Mike Silber's book?
No.
It's called The Why Is Everything. And it's an incredible detail of all those the Sean McVays and the LaFleurs and the Shanahan, where they came from and how they got here. And there's a story in there about how when Sean McVay went through his first losing season, he ran away from the facility and wouldn't work with people because he was so angry all the time. And Raheem Morris basically had to go to his house because he's only working out of his house to be you need to grow the bleep up and come back to work and work with everybody and stop falling into this thing where you have to be the savior of the team. And it's I'm wondering about Sirianni. Is his default McVay's default is run away and do all the work myself? Is Sirianni's default I got to meddle, I got to get involved?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question because when he has had to meddle, it's because the guy in that role sucked. Right? I mean, let's defend Sirianni a little bit too. It's 2 years ago that was a crap situation for Nick Sirianni. So. You just hope this guy, if he's not perfect at his job right off the rip, that he's just young and promising and smart enough to pick things up quickly.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up because I think it is arguably going to be the most interesting of all the.
What's yours?
I mean, I would probably go on offensive coordinator, but if I came up with another one. It's not the OC.
Yeah.
I would go with.
Got plenty of options.
Can I go a little outside the box?
Do whatever you want. It's your world.
A.J. Brown versus the media.
Okay, it's definitely outside the box.
Because remember at the end of the year, he kept telling the media, you guys trying to keep making me out to the bad guy. And remember all of he's doing all that social media stuff this offseason where he's, trying to create this picture of I'm not what the media says I am, kind of thing. And, I'm wondering does he keep reading the Inner Excellence book or does he start getting, involved too much with this back and forth,
And listen, there was plenty of trade rumors. Now, were they strictly stemming from up in New England? Maybe. But maybe there was even just a hint of truth to those trade rumors of him, the Eagles possibly moving. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I think we're reaching on that. But
I think the trade rumors was more fabricated. I think
too. Because the Patriots wanted it.
Right. And if you're the person who Ryan wants to say A.J. Brown not being at Jalen Hurts' wedding is something, okay, I can maybe work with that more than the trade rumor.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But the only thing there is we thought they were really close, but I'd like to see the wedding list. Who was there compared to who wasn't there, right?
Devontae Smith. I know Devontae Smith was there, so.
Interesting. Maybe AJ's salty. I don't know, man. You could be onto something.
I don't know. So that's my one. But we got the break. We're delayed to get there. like Brian said, we got to get to the draft lottery tonight, what it means for the Sixers. Phillies have won 11 of the last 14 games. Is Ryan impressed or not? We'll get to all that coming up next. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County with a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel. We provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Here's comedian Howie Mandel for hands-free Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins.
Yeah, I'm holding a new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-in sneaker, and first of all, I barely know I'm holding it. It's that light. You see, Cozy Fit is a cool new sneaker where the upper is made of a soft quilted material. It's kind of like a little puffer jacket for your feet, except it looks like a super stylish sneaker.
Introducing new Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins, the latest comfort creation from Skechers. You can find Cozy Fit Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NFL announcing that the Eagles will open up the season on September 4th in the kickoff game on a Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. Full schedule will be released on Wednesday. The Super Bowl champs will play their 6 divisional games, plus the 4 teams from the NFC North, the AFC West, as well as games against Tampa Bay, the LA Rams, and the Raiders. The NBA Draft Lottery taking place tonight. The Philadelphia 76ers with a 10.5% chance of landing the number 1 #1 pick. If that selection lands in the top 6, Philadelphia will get to keep it. But if it falls outside the top 6, that pick will belong to Oklahoma City. Baseball, the Phillies home tonight to begin a 3-game series with the St. Louis Cardinals. Philadelphia has won 5 of 6, while the Cardinals have won 8 straight. Pitching matchup tonight, Christopher Sanchez will go for the Phillies. The Cardinals countering with Matthew Liberatore. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. An area of low pressure spreads in from the southwest tonight, bringing rain back to South Jersey. Here's what to expect. For the most part, it'll be mostly cloudy tonight with a low of 62. We could see a shower creep in toward daybreak tomorrow morning, and then periods of light rain throughout the day tomorrow, heavier stuff at night, cloudy and cooler, high 67. A few more showers and thunderstorms coming up on Wednesday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Sometimes you see them, many times you don't. I'm talking about motorcyclists. They share the road with us, but they're harder to see. Look twice before changing lanes, approaching intersections, or merging into traffic. Be the driver who saves lives. A message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm purposely playing Round Ball Rock because I think the news that Michael Jordan is back, not in the NBA. He's going to be on the NBA on NBC this fall. Although they haven't said exactly what his role is, Ryan Rothstein is back with me here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill. Final hour of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. You excited that Michael Jordan is going to be on the NBA on NBC coverage, Ryan?
Yeah, dude, he's the GOAT. Why not? You know, anytime you get a GOAT, you know, out in the public commenting on what he's the GOAT in, I'm all for it. I'm curious to see exactly what that role looks like. But yeah, man, of course.
I mean, I'm interested as well because we saw what happened with Gretzky doing Turner, right? And he's turned into a semi-regular on their NHL coverage. And I got to admit, Gretzky is better than I thought he was going to be. Like, frankly, he's better than some of the guys on the set when it comes to analysis. Whereas, like, is Jordan going to be able to give you that level of analysis, or is he just going to, like, pop in and out and be like remember what Magic used to do with ESPN? He'd just be a little here, a little there. You know, we're going to get that from Jordan.
I hope we just get Jordan, just him, a default of himself, like for better or worse, because I think that will be entertaining. I think if we get Jordan, like
Last Dance.
Yeah, kind of like his commentary is everyone's a bum, you know, and here's why. Because that would be funny. Like
just him ripping everyone.
Just him being him. You know, him being like he's not Barkley. Barkley is the GOAT personality, right? But just being himself. Just be yourself. Be authentic. Don't try and be like that analyst on TV. You know, just be Jordan, and I think we'll all enjoy it. So
right. Well, Barkley is kind of like a man of the people. He kind of he's a people's guy. Like I've met Barkley before. He's a very, very friendly, affable guy. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and like Shaq's the same way. Like they just approach it differently. Whereas Jordan, he just has a vibe where like he'd be sitting there and be like, "Yeah, that's soft."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You know, exactly. If I was playing today, I'd back him down for about 5 dribbles and dunk in his face. You know, like he's got that kind of vibe to him.
Yeah, if we can get that vibe with maybe a little bit of analysis that we're surprised he can come, you know, pull out, right? He's doing his homework a little bit, even just a little bit.
Right.
And I think he'll be great.
Like you know the Michael Kidd Gilchrist story?
With Jordan, I probably have heard it, where he just like embarrasses him and he plays him one-on-one.
So for those who don't know the story, so Michael Kidd Gilchrist out of Kentucky was a big time.
There's so many of these stories, but yeah, go ahead.
But he was drafted by Charlotte, and Jordan was the owner at the time. By the way, he's not the owner of the Charlotte anymore. Apparently that's why he's doing this NBA on NBC thing. He wants to get back into the basketball world. That's apparently what the Andrew Marchand report was saying. But anyway, so he owned Charlotte at the time. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, big prospect out of Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. Kidd-Gilchrist thinks he's like it, right? So 51-year-old Jordan says, we're going to play a one-on-one. He beats him like 10-1 or 11-1 or whatever it was. And when the media asked him, oh, did you, oh, man, you really dominated him. He's like, well, I let him score the 1 point.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like such like a bleep you moment from Jordan. Like that's I'm with you about that. Like I want that Jordan on the analysis. Like I want him sitting there basically like ripping into, like LeBron flopping or like ripping into, Embiid, getting injured. Like I wanted him to be full blown, get off my lawn, little boy. Yeah. I want Jordan. Like, remember the scene from Last Dance on the iPad? Like, and this is bringing back memories because for those who don't remember, Ryan and I were co-hosting at one point during COVID, and every Monday we would recap the Last Dance. Yeah. But I remember we talked about the scene where he's like on the iPad and he's like reacting to what other people are saying, and just like his unfiltered commentary was like my favorite part of Last Dance. Him just like ripping people for their opinions.
It was beautiful. It was a heck of a time, and hopefully he gives us a little bit more of those just in different pieces, sprinkles them. So yeah, I'm excited, dude. You get Jordan back back involved in media coverage in whatever capacity, whatever role he ends up being in. I'm all for it, dude. And I want to transition to, and I said this to tonight. I'm transitioning to tonight, and this is what I said about it regarding the 76ers, that I think this night could be the biggest night in 76ers franchise history.
Oh.
For obvious reasons. Is it hyperbole? Is it a little bit dramatic? Probably, but I also think there's truth to it because, let's say they get the number one overall pick. And, then we're talking about, man, what are they going to do with that pick? You can get Cooper Flagg. Daryl Morey also mentioned using a pick, depending on which pick they get, as a tool and a trade piece. Giannis is a big name. Like, what if they're able to trade for Giannis and still
let me ask you that.
There's
Ryan.
Yeah.
Daryl Morey gets on the phone, calls Ryan Rothstein after he gets the number one overall pick. He says, Ryan, I can take Cooper Flagg or trade for Giannis. Who do you want?
So you trade the number one pick. There's really just hypothetical, obviously, but
hypothetically, if Daryl Morey comes to Ryan and says, Flagg or Giannis?
Giannis. There's no one on planet Earth that should say Cooper Flagg. Nobody. Nobody. Giannis is. I'm going to say arguably, but I don't think there's a huge argument. If you want to put Jokic one, fine. Giannis is the best player on the planet. If you want to put him 1B or 2, I'm not going to argue you. If you want to put him 3, I might have some pushback. That's as low as I'm putting Giannis right now. Giannis is 1 to 2 player on the planet right now, and he can hold that status for another 3 to 4 years. So if you're telling me you're getting him, and also what's Daryl Morey's plan? What's the 76ers plan? Because the reality is it's involving Joel Embiid, right? Unless they pull off some crazy, crazy miracle out of their back pocket Hail Mary where they unload Joel Embiid, which I don't think is happening, your window of opportunity to win a title ain't very big. You have a small margin of time to try and capitalize on a title with Joel Embiid and Maxey in this group. So guess what? If that's your window, 3 years, maybe 5, I would love to have Cooper Flagg here. I would love it. But if you can get Giannis, you do that. You do that 10 out of 10 times. Yes.
See, I'm with you on the Giannis thing because I'm also a huge Giannis guy.
And we don't know what Cooper Flagg's going to be, Josh. I'm sorry.
Well, that's true.
We don't know what he's going to be.
Giannis is probably like one of my favorite players in the NBA today. It's how
can he not be?
It's Anthony Edwards. It's SGA. Like those are my big 3 right now in the league. So I mean, if the Sixers landed Giannis, I would be over the moon. But here's the problem, Ryan. I got a theory for you, which is I think these lotteries are all rigged. I don't think these leagues actually fairly. I don't care how much behind the scenes ESPN with Shams is giving me throughout the day. Okay. Yeah. for all I know, listen, I work in media for over 20 years, Ryan. I know I can manipulate video and audio to do whatever I want, okay? You can't tell me, listen, I see with my own two eyes in the real flesh that these things are not unbiased, okay? I don't think it's a coincidence the Knicks got Patrick Ewing back in the day or Elijah Wan went to Houston back in the day. I don't think it's a coincidence. Right, Cleveland LeBron or Kyrie in Cleveland, you know? Remember they had like a 4% chance for the year they got Kyrie, you know? And people are like, oh, the good luck charm is the owner's son. Get out of here with that stuff.
I hate being the conspiracy theorist guy. I'm not typically, and I don't think you typically are either. This certainly is a conspiracy theory, right? We can both agree on that, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean you're wrong. People can laugh at that take that you have. Fine. We're never really going to know the truth. So fine. You can laugh at Josh. You can laugh at me. I think that is a strong possibility. Like tonight, here's the only way we're going to know that the draft is not rigged, the draft lottery. If the 76ers
get the first pick.
No. Because then you can argue it's rigged. If the 76ers do not get a top 6 pick, then it's not rigged. Because the league is not, if the league is involved at all in tonight in the ping pong balls, they're not going to place Philly out of the top 6. And there's a 64% chance they get a top 6 pick, the 76ers. So do the math. That's 26%, 1 in 4 chance the Sixers don't even get their pick, which is frightening and horrifying. I don't even want to entertain that thought, Josh. But if that is a reality, then you're like, dude, there's no way this is rigged if that ends up happening. That's how I look at it, right?
Yeah, see, my opinion is I think tonight we're going to see either the Spurs. If
you're the league, Josh, if you're the league,
yeah,
and you want to rig it tonight, who's the number 1 pick?
Spurs or Jazz?
Yeah.
It's easy. Because
I would say the Spurs, but I also don't think you give them Victor and then Cooper Flag. Although that's a hell of a story, my goodness. But I think you spread the love.
Pop is very well loved around the league. A nice little hat tip to him.
Oh, he's gone.
Well, he's the president of basketball operations now.
Yeah.
But the other reason why the Jazz is because, I've heard a lot of stories, Ryan, about how Ryan Smith is the new golden boy of the league. The league views him as this model owner. And they view him as a guy that they can when all the old owners start dying off or selling their teams and stuff. For example, the problem with the Lakers right now is there's a huge problem with their future because it's not like all the Buss family has a legitimate plan if Genie dies. I'm not trying to be morbid here. So the league is trying to be well, who can we position as an owner that can maybe be a stabilizing force in the league? And I think they really like that Ryan Smith in Utah.
Okay. Yeah. And listen, they're tied for the best odds to win it. So 14% chance. Washington and Charlotte also 14%. The Pelicans 12.5%, and then our Philadelphia 76ers with a 10.5% chance to quote capture the flag and get the number 1 overall pick. So
nice.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm excited, dude. And I'm excited. What do I want to see him get the number 1 overall pick? Of course. Because now you can win in a ton of different ways, whether you choose to get flag or you flip that in a big time trade, even a top 3 pick, you can do that as well. So there's just a lot of options, and it's a good draft. It's not damn, of course the Sixers are in this position when it's a weak draft. No, this is a good, deep draft, especially at the top.
If the Sixers keep the pick, who does Ryan Rothstein want them to pick if they have a top 5 pick?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's Cooper Flag, right? But outside of him, you have a couple options. I said this to Gill, I think a week or so ago, that you see in the NBA the return of the big man, the return of the big lineup, 2 big men playing pivotal roles in a lineup, right? OKC's doing it with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, 2 great guys to do that with, right? But Minnesota's doing it, Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid, right? There's a lot of examples of NBA playoff teams that are successful right now that are utilizing 2 bigs. So you bring in Bailey from Rutgers. He has a ton of upside. Big, lengthy. McQueen is another guy lengthy, ton of potential, right? So I would like to see if they don't have a top 2 pick, right? Because then it's Flag or it's Harper. I love Harper, Ron Harper's son, also out of Rutgers. He would be a great pick at number 2. But if it's not one of those, I think they go big because they have some really good options in this draft, top 5 options for a stretch big who's athletic, pick and roll, get boards, knock down threes, do all of that stuff alongside Joel Embiid.
You didn't name the guy that I would like to see.
Who's that?
Johnson.
Okay.
To me, I think Philadelphia needs a guy that can get a bucket consistently. And I don't want to spend the rest of my Sixers fandom hoping Embiid and George are healthy enough to get a bucket. Tyrese needs another guy aside from him who can go out and score. And I think Johnson is the kind of guy who, when the day comes that PG and Embiid aren't here, he can slide right in and be that top scorer on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't hate that. I like that a lot. I mean, Harper would be great if you can get him because that's a bucket. That's a guy that can do a lot of things.
I agree. I do like Harper. But there's something about Johnson that just screams competitive. You know what I mean? There's something about him that screams like this guy wants the ball in his hand when the game is on the line.
And there's just so many variables, and I like your pick and your thought process behind it. I agree with you, but there's just a lot of variables, which is what is Daryl Morey thinking, right? Like, seriously, though, and I trust him. I'm one of the few that have full faith and trust in him.
I'm glad some of us do, because I don't trust him.
Yeah, I don't, we don't have enough time to debate that.
I will preface this by saying I don't hate the guy. I don't hate the guy. I feel like he says things at times, and he lacks the self-awareness to understand how ridiculous he sounds.
Maybe.
And it just
a little
feels
quirky.
Yeah. It just feels like, it's like, I've always had the theory about like Nick's like I feel like Nick Sirianni and Daryl Morey have the same problem. I question if they have someone in their life that can tell them the truth and they'll listen.
Interesting. I don't think Morey's as bad as Sirianni was in his heyday, but that's fair.
His heyday was what, 8 months ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. But yeah, dude, but I say, what is Daryl Morey thinking? Because, you said we need someone that can get a bucket. Forget Embiid and Paul George. Right now you have Maxey and McCain. And I think Maxey and McCain, not going out on a limb, have the potential to be an all-star backcourt for the next 5-10 years. They do, based off what we've seen. If you believe in that and you want to give the keys to them, okay, now we're cooking, right? Now you say you have 2 young up-and-coming all-stars in the backcourt. You have Joel Embiid. You have Paul George. Maybe you flip Paul George for some 3-and-D guys. Like, you still have a ton of options right now with this team. Maybe you trade Maxey. Maybe you trade McCain. That's all on the table when it comes to Daryl Morey. Morey's history and his track record from Philly and previously has always shown he's not afraid to take a big swing. So it's exciting, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating no matter what happens coming up in a couple hours for the draft lottery. You can follow all of Ryan's takes at WiseRyle on the Twitter X platform. And, of course, he joins us each week in the 5 o'clock hour on the Sports Bash. Mike will be back tomorrow, and Ryan and Mike will certainly riff on whatever happens with the draft lottery tonight.
Yeah, can't wait. It was fun. We didn't talk any Phillies, but hey, go Phils.
Go Phils. They're winners of 11 last 14. It's not popular to talk about a winning team.
No, they need to lose some games. Get my blood pressure up.
Take care, Ryan.
Later.
Josh Hennig here on the Sports Bash, filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, the wrap of the 5 o'clock hour. Coming up on the other side, we're going to switch it over to game night here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, you'll hear my conversation with Jeff Mosher. Of course, he wrote an article at PhillyVoice.com about the Eagles and the Cowboys. If you didn't hear football at 4 earlier tonight, you hear my conversation with Jeff Mosher coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Mike Gill will be back in this hour tomorrow for the full 4 hours here on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, you hear everything with the draft lottery tonight. ESPN Radio's coverage of the draft lottery and the NBA playoffs starts at 7 p.m. tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll be back on the other side with Jeff Mosher here Josh Hennig hanging out with you.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
For over 135 years, First Bank of Sea Isle City has proudly served Cape May County with a commitment to maintaining a hometown feel. We provide secure, convenient deposit and loan products every day. We're more than just a bank. We're a trusted community partner, offering personalized banking solutions that make life easier for local families of all ages. First Bank of Sea Isle City. Look for our lighthouse in your neighborhood and discover what makes us different.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
It's good!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
While the Philadelphia Eagles have become the gold standard in the NFL, they and the Chiefs are the two best-run franchises in all of football. Yet, for whatever reason, the NFL is giving the Cowboys a platform that they have not earned, they do not deserve, and frankly, it's an embarrassment that the NFL thinks that this is okay. For full vitriol about this decision, you can go to phillyvoice.com, where our guest now, Jeff Mosher, wrote about it. Of course, Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, and every Monday, Mosher Mondays here for Football at 4. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill this segment here on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff, welcome in. How you doing on this Monday?
I'm good, Josh. How are you? And good day to you. It sounds like you actually have even more vitriol than I had in the column that I wrote for phillyvoice.com. I agree with you. The Cowboys, and that was the headline to my column, is what have the Cowboys done to deserve their appearance in this game, which has traditionally, not always, but traditionally been a rematch of a conference championship the year before, which you saw last year when the Kansas City Chiefs played the Ravens in a great game, and that was a rematch of the 2023 conference championship game, which was also a very good game. And the NFL had plenty of opportunity. Not I want to say plenty, but they had at least three other teams that would have fit that mold, if not a rematch of the conference championship, a really good game between two teams that would look like a potential NFC championship, right? And they went with the Cowboys because that was the low-hanging, easy, dangle the carrot. People are going to love this and lap it up. But as I wrote, Josh, that game could be played on Saturn in a parking lot in mid-July, and people are going to watch the crap out of it anyway. You had an opportunity to get the Rams versus the Eagles, right? Rematch of a great divisional round game. Now you may have to wait a couple weeks. Who knows if Matthew Stafford's going to be healthy by the time that game rolls around? You know, by week one, he's more likely to be. So that was my soapbox.
Well, it's a fair soapbox because, as I said before you came on, Jeff, I don't know if the NFL owed Jerry Jones a favor or if the NFL is predicting, like I have, that George Pickens is going to doom the Cowboys season, and by the end of the year, it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire, and they're trying to get the Cowboys on, prime time before it all goes, to HE double hockey sticks. But, the idea being that the Cowboys being in this game, it just feels like a slap in the face of anyone with half a football brain. I mean, even Mike Gill has mentioned here on 97.3 ESPN, what about the Bears? The Bears are up-and-coming team. Like, there's so many options you could have put in that slot. But yet, why are we giving the Cowboys this? I mean, it will be the first time they see the banner raised in over 30 years. So, I mean, maybe they're doing them that favor to give them a bit of a good vibe. I don't know.
It's possible. You mentioned Jerry Jones. And, as I wrote for Philly Voice, it does feel like the NFL owners are throwing the world's largest pity party for Jerry Jones, because not only does he have to watch the Eagles get way more attention, they hit the rivals, but now the Commanders. And I think most Eagles fans know this, but there might be a lot that don't. In Dallas, Washington is their Eagle. That is their most hated rival. It's actually not the Eagles. Some Cowboys fans will tell you it's Eagles. Those are the ones that live in Philadelphia area, right? But it was always going back to the 80s, Cowboys, Redskins then, Cowboys, Commanders now, that's the rivalry. So now Jerry Jones not only has to see the Eagles gloat, but his team's most hated rival has really got its you-know-what together, and they look like they could be a pretty good force. They've made some great moves. Laramie Tunsil, right? Deebo Samuel, they drafted well, smartly. They didn't go for the shiny toy. They drafted Josh Connerly in the first round, Trey Amos in the second round. I mean, those were generally regarded as smart, good picks of building in really key areas because they need a playmaker, to be honest, but they didn't go chase after a wide receiver or a running back who wasn't right for them at that point. So, yeah, it's the world's largest pity party. Oh, poor Jerry. He's the third best team in his own division potentially now. Oh, poor Jerry. He lost his quarterback last year after paying him, all that money because he waits till the last minute. So let's put him in prime time on week one. Again, it's going to be a ratings monster. So the NFL can legitimize it. And it'll probably be the most watched game in NFL history because every year, Josh, you know this, right? You get the ratings. Every year, the NFC East games between the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, even Giants, all those games are the most watched games because they're the biggest markets. And they set the record now because there's more viewership, more streaming. They set the record every year for the most watched game in NFL history, not called the Super Bowl, or most watched regular season game. So it'll look like that after week one, and the NFL will feel justified in it.
Right, they'll feel justified.
But how will they feel if it's a 40-1 to 10, third quarter? The Eagles are winning by a lot. I'm not saying it is. I probably sound a little homerish there, but I do think this, Josh. I think the Cowboys have good players. I think they've made upgrades, and if healthier than last year, they should be a better team and maybe even a playoff team. But kind of like the way the Eagles started off last year with all that newness and they just weren't ready and their defense was in shambles. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing for Dallas where they're going to come out of the gate and look like a playoff team.
Well, the good news is the last time the Eagles played the Cowboys for an opening day game, they beat them 40-14 in Dallas back in 2000. Now, Deuce Staley had 200 rushing yards in that game. So is Saquon going to have 250 on opening night here, Jeff?
Is he going to drink a lot of pickle juice? I mean, I think that's the big question. I mean, that was a real coming and go fad, too. That whole pickle juice thing took on a life of its own. And then, I don't know, I think we had thought that was going to be like sweeping the league, and then it just did not. I never really understood it because pickle juice is really salty. So I understand if you put a lot of salt in your body, you absorb water. But, I never understood because you're not really supposed to have salty stuff before you go sweat out 80% of your body water. So you have to drink a lot in order to be able to support having that much salt in your body.
I think you just answered your own question there. Why it didn't sweep the league?
Because
because probably the sports science guys for other organizations were like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah. We'll just drink Gatorade. That seems like a lot more smarter to do.
Yeah. Jeff Mosher joining us from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Jeff P. Mosher on the Twitter X platform, and, of course, his latest article at Philly Voice. What did the Cowboys do to earn the right to be the Eagles' season opening opponent? Well, apparently what they did was be the only team in the NFC to not reach an NFC championship game since 1997. Apparently that's what they did, Jeff. But I love how our listeners are already reacting to this because we have, I'm put up here, Goody from Galloway. He says, it's okay because Dak Prescott has already thrown an interception in the 2025 season to start the year that night before the game even started. But I do have a question for you from Jeff in Ocean City, who I will note spells his name the same way you do, Jeff Mosher.
That's right.
Jeff with a J.
Yeah. Jeff is a longtime listener, and he always asks good questions. So thank you, Jeff.
So he wants
from one Jeff to another.
Yeah. So one G Jeff to another. Jeff from Ocean City wants to know. Does any of this have to do potentially with the Phillies schedule? We know that early in the year, the Eagles schedule has to work around the Phillies schedule.
Well, they have to play a home game, right?
It has to be a home game, yes.
Yeah, it's got to be. So unless I'm missing something, I'm not sure why the opponent would matter.
I mean, that's what he's asking. He's trying to figure out, is there something that maybe we don't know about how this early season schedule is going to play out?
Yeah, I can look into that, but I don't think so. I honestly think this was just a chance to put Dallas in a spotlight that it didn't deserve.
Fair enough. I am pulling up the Phillies schedule while we bring this up because that is always an interesting question about because there's a lot of people who are season ticket holders for both teams, Jeff, right? You got people who are Phillies fans and Eagles fans. It's usually a pretty common thing, and I'm pulling up the schedule right now.
They're going to open the season on Thursday at 8:20 against some. I don't think that part is adjustable, right? That when you open up the season, you do it Thursday night.
I will say the Phillies have a home games from September 8th to September 14th. I would assume in that window, the Eagles will not have any home games?
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
Phillies go back on the road from September 15th to September 21st.
Here's something to look up. I would love for you to look up, or maybe I'll do it after this. Ever since they started playing these Thursday night opening games, right? Which is not that long. I mean, what is it?
2006. 2006 was the first year they did it.
I'm really getting old. But all right, so, man, on Thursday nights? Wow, 19 years?
Well, it was part of apparently the NBC deal originally.
But you're talking about when they opened up Thursday night football in general. I'm talking about when it became the first game of the year. The season opener was a Thursday night game. That's not been that long, I don't think it's been 19 years. If it is, then I'm just getting old and getting dementia.
Well, according to this article from the NFL's website, now, of course, this article was published a while ago, so read into what you will. But apparently, 1 year it was Colts beat the Saints 41-10 in the first one of these.
Okay, I would just be curious how often it featured a team with a losing record that didn't make the playoffs the year before.
It didn't make the playoff before. That's an interesting question.
Or even had a losing record, which is usually hand in hand with not making the playoffs. But sometimes you could have been 9-7 back in the day and not made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I don't think. I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my head because, like you said, it's usually a team that is either was in the playoffs last year, had an interesting matchup with the team. Like, last year, Ravens, Chiefs. But even the year before, it was maybe the Lions. Did the Lions make the postseason the year before they played the Chiefs?
Did the Lions make the postseason the year before they played? I thought that was the first year that they made the playoffs. Did they not?
I thought it was, too. So, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys could be like 1 in a million at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it would just be interesting to check that because, again, it's always been a pretty, at least in the last, I don't know. You'd have to, go back to when it was, all the Thursday night games. It's usually a good team versus a good team.
So according to this article from Yahoo Sports, we're doing research on the fly here on 97.3 ESPN. The first kickoff game ever that was held on a Thursday night was actually 2002. But it became like a regular thing in 2006. From 2004 to 2022, the reigning champion has hosted the kickoff game with 2 exceptions, 2013 and 2019. 2019, the Bears hosted the Packers to celebrate the 100th anniversary. 2013, The Broncos hosted the defending champion Ravens due to a you conflict at Baltimore's home stadium. Can you imagine that conversation? Hey, you can't host, you're the Super Bowl champion, but there's a scheduling conflict with your stadium. Like, how does that even happen?
I don't know. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, there's lots of information in this. So I'm trying to look through, see if there's an actual list of all these games, like in a row. Okay, here it is. So let's see here. We know about the Chiefs the last 2 years. We mentioned that. Bills beat the Rams 31-10. The Buccaneers played the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys missed the playoffs the year before. That was the 2020 year.
Oh, what a shock. The Cowboys again got in.
So the last team to miss the postseason but play on the game is actually the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys. Go figure.
You could have guessed that yourself, Jeff, and you would have been right.
I could have.
Jeff, before I let you go, and back to the whole Eagles schedule thing. Obviously,
has any other game been leaked yet? The other 2 games that were supposed to be leaked today, is that out?
I keep checking Twitter, and either Schefter is ignoring it, or I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I know. Here's the thing: one is supposed to be announced by Fox. The other is supposed to be announced by Amazon Prime. I don't watch any TV, Josh. So you'd have to tell me, if you're Fox, like, what show are you airing tonight that has a really big audience that you're dropping this news right before, right? Because that's when you would do it, right? Like, you don't. When else would Fox and Amazon Prime? What shows come out on Monday? I'm sure there are some really excellent ones that I just don't get a chance to see. But how do they just suddenly drop the news there? Or do they tweet it? I don't know.
I'm assuming Amazon tweets it.
They just tweet it? Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I'm trying to see.
Today show had a platform to announce it and talk about it before tweeting it.
Right, like at least NBC has something legitimate.
An audience.
You know,
not that Fox doesn't have an audience. I just don't know. Like, again, the Today Show is that show that all the casuals, a lot of people watch it in the morning. Like, what are you watching today after 5:00 p.m. on Fox that you're catching the casuals? I don't know. There could be a great show. I don't know.
I was attempting to look it up, but I just learned for the hard way that TVGuide.com is the worst website of all time. So
you probably watch less TV than I do, and I watch no TV.
I probably at this point, if it's not sports, I just watch streaming. So
that's what I'm saying, and that's where I wonder with Amazon Prime. Maybe they had a really good show but maybe.
Or they could do a special. They could do a special launch show.
They absolutely could.
You know, they could send out messages to all their Prime members coming up tonight. You know, I don't have Amazon Prime right now.
Josh, if I could get a column out of it, like a 400-word column, certainly Amazon Prime could get us.
He's Jeff Mosher at Jeff P. Mosher on the Twitter X platform. PhillyVoice.com is where the latest article is, ripping the NFL's decision to put the Cowboys on opening night versus the Eagles. And, of course, I'm sure a lot of the conversation on the Inside the Birds podcast after the full schedule is dropped this week. You and Adam, and we'll see if the Checo pops in. He usually does this time of year. But, Jeff, appreciate you jumping on today. Good stuff. Great article. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It made me laugh multiple times. And we'll talk soon.
You got it, Josh. I know there were probably a couple of pop culture references that were too old for you, but I appreciate that you enjoyed the column.
You forget that I'm a history major.
But you're not a TV history major, a pop culture history major, are you? Or is that part of being a history major?
To me, it's all encompassing.
You got the 90210 reference?
Of course I did.
The free Donna Martin episode? I am proud of you, my friend. Good job.
Don't be that proud of me. I've just heard Gill mention it so many times. How could I forget?
My man. All right, guys. See you.
Jeff Mosher joined us. Inside the Birds podcast. Like, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts.
Join us at Camp Edge in Alloway on Saturday, May 31st from 9 to 2 for the Ranch Hope Levi Baldwin Memorial Fishing Tournament and Family Fun Day. While fishing registration is closed, there's still plenty to enjoy, like food trucks, local vendors, outdoor activities, and more. Come celebrate the day by the lake and support Ranch Hope's mission to serve children, youth, and families from all over the state of New Jersey. Learn more at ranchhope.org.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey, more like Mira joyed that Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at Walmart.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We're famous for our buffalo wings. The Piccalilli. When it comes to cooking wings, we're the king. The Piccalilli.
On game day, don't wing it. Take the trip to the Pick, South Jersey's king of the wing. Try their award-winning wings, tails, and ears in mild, spicy, or hot, or signature flavors like garlic parm, hot honey, Jim Beam maple, and more. For eat-in or takeout, get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock. Follow them on Facebook for events and game day specials.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Of course, we'll get to the text board. I see Dan from EHT and others at 609-403-0973. Referencing our conversation about the Eagles. We'll get to that. Also, I have a couple quick thoughts on the Phillies I did not get a chance to get to earlier today here on 97.3 ESPN. But first, Dan EHT says, we hate to admit it, but the Cowboys are America's team. I think they are still the NFL's most valued team, right? I take it as a slap in the Cowboys' face. Thank you, NFL. I think it's all about perspective, right? You know, you could have multiple people walk up to the same table and have a different take on the food spread, right? So to me, I look at it as pathetic that you decide with the Cowboys in this slot. You are right, though. They are the most valued team in the NFL, Dan EHC. That is 100% correct. I just don't understand why you had to do it. Now, again, I said it a bit tongue-in-cheek to Jeff Mosher, but, you know, Cowboys do a banner race for the first time in 30 years, so good for them. Maybe Jerry Jones will be reminded what that looks like. It is a bit of you're right, a bit of a kind of like an insult to the Cowboys. You are forcing them to go to their rival after their rival won a championship. So there is a little bit of that for sure going on here. I got to look it up again, but I had the list up earlier, but I got to see how many times they have done this where they have had a division rival on site for one of these. Let me see here. Here's the list. Okay. Because I don't recall them usually doing in-division rivals for these games, right? It's usually a team that is not a divisional rival in these games. Let me look through the list here. So was there a Super Bowl champion who raised the banner with their division rival? Okay, got one. So after of course, it's the Cowboys. So after the Giants won their last Super Bowl against the Patriots, they had to play the Cowboys the next season. So it figures it's the Cowboys. Why wouldn't it be the Cowboys? Wow, they did to the Giants again. So when the Giants won the previous Super Bowl against the Patriots, they had to play Washington. The first, man, the Giants are the team that's showing the banners. Maybe it's an NFC East thing. Maybe only the NFC East they do this. It's very strange. Because that was everybody else in this list was a divisional rival. Let me see here. Still looking. And the answer is no. So it's only happened to the NFC East. It's crazy. I don't know. Maybe the league looks at the NFC East as such a gold mine when it comes to these TV ratings. By the way, for those who are wondering, what were the teams that could have been the option for this game? So remember, we knew about the home and away opponents months ago. So here are the teams that were confirmed previously that were on the schedule for the Eagles' home games. Okay? The schedule goes as follows for the home games. Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. Those are your three interdivision home games. Then you have the teams that you play across divisions who had finished with the same standing as you did. Okay? That being the Lions, the Rams. All right? Now, you have the teams that you play because you're playing their divisions. So you're playing the NFC North and the AFC West next year. And those are home games against the Bears, the Broncos, and the Raiders. So, in theory, if you didn't go NFC East, your options were Lions, Bears, Rams, Broncos, Raiders. Those could have been the teams the Eagles could have gotten, but instead the NFL gave us the Cowboys because, of course, they did. And for those who didn't hear the news earlier today, the other Eagles game that's been confirmed on the schedule is December 20th, the Washington Commanders. Okay, the Washington Commanders are the other team that has been confirmed. December 20th in Washington. It'll be part of a Fox NFL Saturday double header. Now, the important note about that game is that game falls the Saturday before Christmas. Remember last NFL season, the teams that played on Christmas Day were also the teams that played the Saturday before. So, the Saturday before Christmas, you had Ravens and Steelers, Chiefs and Texans play. Those four teams then again played on Christmas Day, just swapping opponents. So, there is a legitimate possibility that Philadelphia, after playing December 20th, will then turn around and play on Christmas Day against the Packers or the Bears, which means that if they play the Bears on Christmas Day, that will be a home game. But if it's the Packers on Christmas Day, that would be a road game. So keep that in mind as we slowly start releasing these schedules. The Eagles very, very well, they may very well be playing on Christmas Day. And I don't know how some of you are going to feel about that. I know some of you season ticket holders, you don't like it when the team has games on holidays. There's been numerous instances when, like for example, a Christmas Eve game or, other holidays where people, you don't want to be the person who's like, why can't you come to the family dinner? Well, because I got to go to the Eagles game. I paid for these tickets. And then they have the person, the family says, well, just sell the tickets. Somebody else want to go. And then you have a lot of other people who also want to go see their families on Christmas Day. So it's not always it's not always easy to get people to show up for those games. Let's just put it that way. So, but we do know for a fact at least two games. Cowboys, Eagles. Cowboys, Eagles opening night of the season, September 4th. Then December 20th, Washington Commanders will host the Philadelphia Eagles as part of the Fox Saturday prime time doubleheader. So, definitely some very, very interesting games as the schedule slowly releases. All right, before I wrap up this segment, okay? I'm currently working on an article right now on 97.3 ESPN.com where I am basically explaining that I think Kyle Schwarber is the most undervalued player for the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's not just because he's tied for the Major League in home runs, not just because he's one of the best hitters in baseball right now, but because at 32 years old, I don't see a scenario where he is diminishing. And Ruben Amaro Jr. explicitly compares him to another player who was unceremoniously dismissed by the team that drafted him. Here's Ruben Amaro Jr. on the Philly Show podcast.
Sort of reminds me of the other DH that was non-tendered. His name is David Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
By the Minnesota Twins. Both leaders, both left-handed hitters, both DHs, both with power, great people. I mean, I don't know if Kyle Schwarber's going to become a Hall of Famer, but my goodness, if he continues on this trajectory as far as his home runs and production and stuff like that over the next, 4 or 5 years, and he's going to get, a pretty lengthy contract with the way he's going.
I think it's a very fascinating point because, again, it's not that he's going to be David Ortiz, but it's the idea that this man, he doesn't even look like the same human being he did when he was in Chicago. You look at a side-by-side of him, his first couple years in Chicago to what he is now. Now he looks like a man. He looks like an athlete. He looks like he could probably go out there and play football, right? When he first came up with the Cubs, he was soft around the edges, man. He was a little doughy. He was not in the best shape. And if you notice, Kyle Schwarber's gotten in better shape the last 2 years. And the past injury concerns that has been a problem for him have gone away. Maybe not completely gone away, but you feel more comfortable that he's going to play every game now that he's in better shape and that he looks less soft around the edges. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Schwarber is having a great year in the year he's set to become a free agent. This is going to be his last big contract. Kyle Schwarber is being paid less than Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, and JT Realmuto. And yet you could argue he is more important than all three of those hitters to this team. If this team doesn't re-sign him, I feel pretty comfortable saying they are not winning a championship. Because I think this man's leadership in the locker room, his consistency at bats, and the fact that he's going out of his way to get into the best shape of his life the last 2 years consecutively says a lot about his commitment to winning this team and this organization. And you do not want to give up on somebody with that level of commitment and desire to win that Kyle Schwarber does. And you're seeing in his recent 46 games consecutively reaching base streak, fourth best all time in Phillies history. And you might consider letting that guy walk out the door? Absolutely not. I don't care what it takes. Break the bank. Go get the loan. Do what you got to do. Schwarber's that important. You got to bring him back. Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Coming up on the other side, my conversation with Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City from earlier today when I was filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
O'Reilly.
Get the full exterior car care experience with the Pro X1.